place someone in a theta state or an alpha state or something like that?
Not necessarily. It simply addresses the stress-related symptoms of depression, anxiety, insomnia, or addiction, hypertension, you name it. You see, 80% of the hospital beds in this country, maybe 100, are occupied with people who have psychosomatic ailments, and most of these are now traceable to stress, period. When you relieve the stress, you're going to reverse that condition. There was a time when they thought that maybe there were one or two diseases that had no stress-related syndromes, like cancer or what have you. Now, of course, it's been shown that there are vast psychosomatic factors in even that. So the point is, you can hardly name any existing condition that is not stress-related. The body itself has a marvelous ability to heal itself if it has the proper things to work with. And if you relink that body with some of its normalized neurotransmitters, they apparently work faster than anything else to normalize the body.
Well, I have a question.
Yeah.
If I were to buy one of these, would I have to worry about going through airports as far as the X-ray units they use?
No. Just tell them that it's an alignment device for your tape recorder head. Tell them anything.
Well, I mean, if it were to go through one of those scanners, would that radiation damage the unit?
Oh, no, absolutely not.
Or white sound.
Yeah.
You can have it hand inspected anyway. You can
Sure.
hand it over to
There's so many Walkmans and portable radios and what have you, and they can X-ray that and see that there isn't a gun or a bomb inside, and you're okay.
So there's nothing X-ray sensitive inside?
Oh, absolutely not.
Bob, do you use either of these devices on a regular basis?
Oh, absolutely.
Which one do you use?
I use this maybe once a week. I have to work some days 14, 18 hours, and I'm not as young as I used to be. And
What
this,
is your purpose in using
well, I can do about twice as much in half the time. My memory is better than it was 20 years ago. I sleep better. I have a lot of energy.
it? Use it like what, maybe a half hour or an hour once a week?
20 minutes or so.
So about 20 minutes a week does it for you.
Yeah. Normally, you would not use this after, say, a month. Again, if anyone is interested here, there is just such a vast literature on it that it's an insult to your intelligence to just give you an overview without actually documenting it. But if you are interested, I can give you any number of references that address that specifically. Dr. Ray Smith, who's the Chief of Research and Development for Neurosystems, carries a unit. I saw him just last week. We spent 5 or 6 hours together. He uses his about once or twice a month. Whenever he feels particularly hassled or tax time or whatever, this lets him get the job done. And normally people build up so much resistance to a job or what have you that they cripple themselves.
Bob, do you think this has application for anxiety, depression, that sort of thing?
Well, that's what I've been talking about all night.
Well,
Yeah,
I wanted to get a
specifically.
little more specific.
Right. Lithium carbonate requires blood assays. The dosage is fairly critical. In most of the studies, again, double-blind, a most amazing thing happened in some of these studies. The doctors who had done them, and one or two of these that I have from the University of Wisconsin, said that we hope our colleagues check our results. We can't imagine anything being this effective, and yet we've gone over our studies repeatedly. And to have a responsible scientist put that in his report as sort of a disclaimer, I found rather titillating. And yes, it does specifically address stress-related symptoms, and at the top of that list are anxiety and depression. And we don't know of anyone who doesn't have a taste of these, no matter how well balanced, how well adjusted, how high on pot or low on Valium, Librium, or what have you that they get to be. Well, I guess that's it, or let's talk about something else.
I asked a question a while back about, he asked about to enhance physical for athletic prowess.
I passed that on.
You passed that on.
Apparently a number of these devices, like the AccuStim and AccuScope, are being used in sports medicine. but they're basically being used to relieve pain. TENS units have been around for about 100 years. When Norm Shealy saw the little device from the barber shop that had an induction coil and a flashlight battery in the handle that you rolled up and down your back, he thought this was a good idea and brought out one of the first transistorized TENS units. By the way, there's an interesting story. The StimTech company was purchased by Johnson & Johnson. I'm sure you're aware of the litigation that came down. And a few years ago, the president of StimTech took Johnson & Johnson, which is one of the largest pill manufacturers in the United States. They make Tylenol, Super Tylenol, and what have you, and hundreds of other products. They took him to court saying that you have suppressed this technology. They won. The judge said, in 30 years on the bench, I have never seen a more flagrant violation of trust. This is in the, this was reported in a number of magazine articles. Johnson & Johnson appealed the $130 million judgment against Johnson & Johnson, lost the appeal. The inventors of the StimTech, which is only one of maybe 20 or 30 TENS units, then got back in motion. The judge pointed out that it wasn't to the advantage of Johnson & Johnson to have anything that relieved pain if they were in the business of selling Tylenol. So that's a matter of public record that the drug companies try to suppress this type of technology. That was a pretty big lawsuit. Made a lot of headlines. That's typical. You see, we're not dealing with the scientific problem with this type of instrumentation. We're dealing with a socio-political, economic problem. The government, on one hand, subsidizes the tobacco growers, and on the other hand, says you have to put a warning on the packages, But the tax growers generate so much, rather the tobacco growers generate so much tax revenue that they're in this double bind. This thing it's a political problem, not a scientific one. The same thing is happening with the new emerging electronic medical devices. Germany has some of the most amazing things, the Mora unit, you're familiar with that, the Dermatron. These things do almost psychic diagnostic work, and yet they're totally outlawed in this country. You have to, like Andreas has to smuggle these things in. Call them agricultural testing devices. We've had one complaint from a number of professional users. They say, for God's sake, take that little thing and put it in a great big box, put a lot of dials and bells and whistles and light-emitting diodes and switches on it, all of which would be dummy, incidentally, and charge $5,000 or $6,000 for it, and then people will have faith in it. And I say, well, that's criminal. But anyway, that's my philosophy. No, go.
You just touched on using it for pain relief before. Could you say something more about that?
Yeah, it's a superb TENS unit. I was going to lunch with Paul at the Ambassador a couple of weeks ago, and I tripped over one of these, very embarrassing, one of these tire puncturing things, and having had about 10 years of judo, I slapped as I was going on the cement, and I broke, I don't know whether I broke the bone, but this was extremely painful. I couldn't even move it. And I thought, holy cow, what's the matter with me? So I got this device, put it on this area, and the next day I had full motility and no pain.
That was what device?
This one right here, the brain tuner.
You put it on your hand?
Yeah, I took the electrodes, wet them, and just held them here for about 10 minutes. So it's a superb TENS unit, transcutaneous electric nerve stimulator, but we don't sell it for that purpose. Meg Patterson, when I first met her, was wearing her brain tuner on her back. She had a low back pain, and at this first meeting, she had 2 electrodes taped to her back, and she had this one Pharmacon unit in her belt. So they will work either way. But you cannot use a TENS unit for a brain tuner because there's a DC offset voltage built in deliberately. Any DC above the neck causes small synaptic polarization, like electrolysis. Do not use a TENS unit as a brain tuner, but you can use a brain tuner for a TENS unit. All hens are chickens, not all chickens are hens. Okay.
Bob, question
Yeah.
about experiential stuff. Sitting here with this thing tuner on me, and it's light buzzing in both ears.
All right.
Pleasant. And I have a whole left hemisphere vibration going on. almost nothing over here.